For 33 years, Don Shula was the standard of excellence among NFL coaches. He was tough and demanding, capable of turning even journeyman players into champions.
You can't look at Don Shula and say he didn't have the gift of leadership. I mean, the ability to inspire and make others believe.
Use your head as far as coming out or staying in with the football. Then we need a drive on offense.
The leadership part of it, to me, came natural. I was a leader on the playground. I was a leader in junior high. I was a leader in high school and college. And, sometimes not a popular leader because people don't like to be corrected. And, I got a lot of, you take care of yours and I'll take care of mine responses. But nevertheless, if somebody wasn't doing it, I felt it was my responsibility to do it.
Don Shula's football career began in the small town of Grand River, Ohio. He attended John Carroll College, where he was a 5'11", 190-pound halfback. He played 7 seasons in the NFL as a defensive back. Shula, number 25, spent 4 years in Baltimore and impressed enough people with his football IQ that in 1963, Colts owner Carroll Rosenblum made him the NFL's youngest head coach. Shula was just 33, but he let everyone know he was the boss.
In practice, I felt that there was no such thing as a small flaw or a slight mistake. A guy jumping offside or doing something that in practice seemed very insignificant. In the course of a ball game and an important play in a ball game, that could be the thing that decided the outcome of the ball game. So if it happened in practice, I would stop and I'd say, hey, we can't let this happen. We can't let carelessness enter into our preparation.
4:38. Now we're blowing calls. Listen to what the quarterback says in a huddle.
Shula's hard-driving personality led the Colts to 4 division titles in 5 years. In 1967 and 68, the team won 24 games and lost only 2. Shula was hailed as pro football's best coach. But in January 1969, the heavily favored Colts were upset by the New York Jets in Super Bowl III.
Snell at the 5, Snell at the 3, Snell touchdown!
The game is over. The New York Jets are the world champions.
The stunning defeat created a rift between Shula and Carroll Rosenblum.
Carroll's got an office in New York, and he's taking all of the heat from his New York buddies, and he's passing that heat on to me. And our relationship changed drastically. So when the Baltimore opportunity was going down the drain, and something that looked like it could happen in Miami, I decided to pursue it.
It was so ironic. Miami, the site of Shula's Super Bowl nightmare, became his redemption. In 1970, he took over the Dolphins, a young team with much to learn.
I got on a scale and I weighed 252 or 255, whatever it was, and he said, I want you at 235, and walked off, which meant I had to lose 20 pounds, but that's the way it went, and that's pretty much the way it was going to go with Shula. Is what he said was what he meant, and what he meant was the way it was going to be.
Good, Paul. Way to come back and get it there. That's fine. Charlie, see the move? All right, he had to curl. When the ball was in the air, what did he do? He took about 2 steps back toward the ball, and that kept the cushion between he and the defense.
Shula led the Dolphins to the playoffs in his first season, and the following year, he had them in the Super Bowl. The Dallas Cowboys dominated Miami in that championship game, and even as Shula congratulated Tom Landry on the victory, he was thinking ahead to 1972. The disappointment of losing yet another Super Bowl became the motivation to win every game the following year.
I don't know how many fellas in that 72 team remember this, but at one of the very first meetings that Shula had when we all came back together was he said our objective this year is to go undefeated.
Let's get something out of the drill. Everything we do is for a reason.
Did he believe that we were going undefeated? No, I don't think he did. No. But he did say that. And I remember sitting in my seat thinking, oh my God, this guy is possessed. He's the devil.
Shula led the Dolphins to 14 consecutive victories in the 1972 regular season. They were the first team in NFL history with 2 1,000-yard rushers in the same season. They lost quarterback Bob Greasy in Week 5 and kept winning behind backup Earl Morrall. But for Don Shula, the pursuit of a perfect season wasn't as important as erasing his 0-2 record in the Super Bowl.
So now I'm sitting there with a reputation of a coach that can win, but he can't win a big game. And you don't ever want to have that said about you if you're in the coaching profession. So that was pretty much my whole thought, was to get to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl, and take that blemish off of my record.
The Dolphins ended Shula's Super Bowl frustration with a convincing win over Washington. They were the first team in NFL history to complete an entire season unbeaten and untied. At 17-0, Shula and the Dolphins stood alone as pro football's only perfect team, and they returned home to a hero's welcome.
17-0 says it all. The World Championship. The best team ever in professional football.
The following year, the Dolphins became the first team to appear in 3 consecutive Super Bowls, and they won their 2nd straight World Championship by crushing Minnesota.
Breezy takes the snap. It's Vaca straight up the middle, and he's got the touchdown. Larry Vaca carries it in.
Don Shula went on to coach another 21 years in Miami. He either won or shared 14 division titles. He demonstrated his flexibility in 1983 by drafting quarterback Dan Marino and turning the Dolphins into a prolific passing team. In 1993, Don Shula took the field in Philadelphia, needing just 1 victory to become the winningest coach in NFL history, surpassing Chicago's legendary George Halas. Typically, Shula was all business.
What'd you do? Did you look for the eye? Did you look first on the 63 arrow?
No.
You looked right away.
Right now, the guy was coming right in my face. How much more? One to me? No, 63.
Let's be patient now. We gotta be patient. Take what we get.
Here's Mitchell, give off to Higgs. He slams it across the left side for a TD.
This is number 325, and it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Coach Shula being mobbed as he becomes the all-time winningest coach in the history of the National Football League.
I think I've only had 2 opportunities in my coaching career to be carried off the field, and one was winning the Super Bowl, the perfect season, and the other one was breaking George Halas's record of winning the most games. So those are 2 rides that I'll never forget.
Shula coached 2 more years and retired with 347 wins, including postseason. In 1997, he was enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
This is the ultimate honor. You know, it's only 50 miles from Grand River to Canton, but it took me 67 years to travel that distance.
Boy, as the years have passed and you do an inventory of the man's work, I mean, it has just heightened his reputation to the point where Don Shula is regarded as being one of the great heroes in America.